Welcome to this deep dive. We take complex topics and try to pull out what you really need to know.
Exactly.
Today, we're looking at the conviction of Marine Le Pen for embezzling European Union funds. It's a big one.
It really is.
We've got various news reports covering, the legal side, the reactions from Le Pen herself, her party, the National Rally, and how French judicial officials are pushing back.
Our mission today is to really get to grips with the core elements, understand the immediate aftermath, and maybe see what this means for French and European politics down the line.
Right, so let's start with the main event. Marine Le Pen convicted for misusing EU funds. The judge involved was Bénédicte de Pertuis.
Yes, and that name became important very quickly
Yeah.
because almost immediately after handing down the verdict, the judge, Judge de Pertuis, she became a target.
Yeah, reports I think from hotnews.ro say she's now under police protection due to explicit personal threats.
That's right. We're talking French police patrols outside her home. Apparently, numerous threatening messages. It shows the intensity surrounding this case.
Definitely. And the sentence itself, what was it again?
It's significant, 4 years in prison, though, importantly, 2 of those are suspended.
Okay, so 2 years potentially served?
Potentially, yes, and eligible for house arrest for those 2 years, plus a $100,000 fine and, this is key, a 5-year ban from holding public office.
That public office ban is huge, obviously. And predictably, there's been a backlash, right? Legally and politically.
Oh, absolutely. Le Pen is appealing, naturally, and she's immediately framed this whole thing as politically motivated.
She spoke to TF1, didn't she? Said something like, the rule of law has been totally violated.
Exactly that, and explicitly called the verdict a political one. That's her narrative.
Yeah.
This isn't about justice, it's about stopping her politically.
But the other side, the judicial authorities, they're not having it. Attorney General Remy Heitz.
He came out strongly, defended the court's independence, stated very clearly the ruling was made according to the law.
And he called Le Pen's accusations, what was it?
Completely excessive. And he condemned the threats against the judge, calling them unacceptable in a democracy, a very firm defense of the judiciary.
And the Justice Minister, Gerald Darmanin, also weighed in.
Yes, expressing serious concern. He warned that these kinds of attacks on judges really endanger judicial independence overall. It's a foundational issue, he suggested.
Meanwhile, Le Pen's party, the National Rally, they're mobilizing.
You could say that. The party president, Jordan Bardella, talked about the tyranny of judges.
Yeah.
He even made a comparison to Romania, I think, where a far-right candidate was disqualified.
Right, trying to paint a picture of a pattern.
Seems like it. Bardell's also announced plans for peaceful mobilizations, so protests, essentially.
And he framed the court's decision in quite dramatic terms, didn't he? Something about disenfranchising voters.
Yes, claiming it disenfranchised millions of French voters who support Le Pen. He's really leaning into this idea that the courts are thwarting the popular will, and he pledged total loyalty to Le Pen.
Okay, so let's drill down into the actual crime. What did the court say this embezzlement scheme involved?
Well, the Paris court described finding a system. This was apparently running between 2004 and 2016.
A long time.
A very long time. The idea, according to the court, was to divert EU funds, money that was meant for MEPs, members of the European Parliament, to hire assistants for their parliamentary work.
Right, funds specifically for legislative support.
Exactly. But the court found this money was instead used to pay salaries for National Rally Party staff. They were allegedly listed as MEP assistants, but were actually doing party work.
So disguising party expenses as legitimate parliamentary assistance. And the National Rally Party itself was convicted as an entity.
Yes, the party itself, formerly the National Front, was one of the convicted entities in this scheme.
Do we know how much money we're talking about in total?
The court estimated the total embezzled sum was around $4.4 million, although about $1.1 million has apparently been reimbursed since then. Still, a substantial amount over that period.
Okay, looking forward. The big question mark is the 2027 presidential election. This conviction currently means Le Pen can't run because of that 5-year ban. How critical is her appeal?
Everything, really, for her personally and for the National Rally. If this conviction stands, especially the ban from office, she's out of the 2027 race.
Which would completely reshape the political landscape.
Absolutely. This appeal isn't just being watched in France. Given the rise of right-wing populism across Europe, the outcome here has wider implications. If the appeal fails, it forces major questions about who leads the National Rally and the broader French right.
So, to recap, We have this major conviction, these deeply concerning threats against the judge, and two completely opposing narratives fighting it out, rule of law versus political plot.
It's a stark conflict, and it throws huge uncertainty onto the path towards 2027 in France, and maybe even ripples beyond.
It really leaves us with something to think about, doesn't it? How does the public's view of judicial independence hold up when faced with such a politically explosive case? Does trust in the whole democratic process get eroded?
And it makes you wonder, how does this compare to similar situations, perhaps, in other countries?
Mm.
Are the dynamics the same? Are the public reactions similar or different? It's a fascinating and maybe worrying look at the pressure points between law and politics today.